What's up YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. And we are now at that point where we are going to end 2022. We are now going to end this year, which is obviously 2022, with a top 10 video. And I have 3 of them over the course of the next 3 days, including today. Because for today's video, I'm going to be doing a top 10 best WWE matches of 2022 with a few honorable mentions, if you will, because I'm gonna be honest, looking at this list, here's the thing: a lot of these are gonna be from previous premium live events, from throughout this whole year. So you might see some from WrestleMania. It could potentially be Money in the Bank. Could be Extreme Rules. It could be anywhere, any premium event. But there are a couple that are not only just from SmackDown, but this also includes NXT UK, because if you guys remember, this past summer was the end of NXT UK, and it was very hard for a lot of us. By the way, shoutouts to Dr. Pepper, not sponsored, best soda in the world. Don't at me, but yeah. So you might see a match on this list that's from NXT UK. You never know. But before we get started, if you guys enjoyed this video and you guys want to see more top 10 videos in the future, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. Make sure you guys check out the community tab. I've been posting on there quite a bit as of late, so make sure you guys check out those posts. Leave some likes, post in the comments, and let's kick things off with the honorable mentions. Kicking things off at number 5 in the honorable mentions list, we've got Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 38. You guys might be wondering, why is this in the honorable mentions? The reason being is because obviously, yes, it was awesome to see Stone Cold back in a wrestling ring, in his wrestling gear, for the first time in almost 2 decades. But the problem with the match and the story itself was the fact that, in my honest opinion, it could have been better. No, I just don't think that this match was right to be on the top 10 list, just because of the fact that Stone Cold was a bit rusty when it came to being in a WWE ring. Obviously, yes, he had posted multiple excuse me, a bunch of workout photos and videos on his Instagram and whatnot. But the ring rust came into play so badly. That match could have been won by Kevin Owens. That's just how I see it anyway. But coming in at number 4 in the honorable mentions list, we've got Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules. This one was a bit of a squash match. Reason being is because, I guess, the reason being is the fact that Ronda Rousey damn near sent Liv Morgan to a hospital. And if you guys notice that, Liv Morgan's expression when she lost the title as she was in that submission, she was literally smiling. Like, who the hell does that? Plus, not only that, I think Liv Morgan's run as SmackDown Women's Champion should not have ended that way. I think it should have ended possibly at the Royal Rumble, in my honest opinion, because Liv Morgan, she had so much promise as as SmackDown Women's Champion. She had all the potential in the world, but I guess there were some people who just did not want. In my opinion, I think there was some people in management who did not see Liv Morgan as championship material, so they decided to put the title back on Ronda Rousey, which made little sense whatsoever. Plus, I think in my opinion, I think had let's say Liv Morgan did retain her title, right? We all know Ronda Rousey will just keep coming at her until she's SmackDown Women's Champion. So I guess it wouldn't have mattered, but the reason why I have this in the honorable mentions list is because of the way the match ended. It was just too soft. It wasn't as like epic or historic or whatever as people may think. So yeah, it was a bit of a squash match in my honest opinion. Next up, so coming in at number 3, we have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley at the Royal Rumble. The reason being is because of the way the match ended. The way the match ended, Roman Reigns hit Brock Lesnar with a Superman punch. Paul Heyman handed Roman Reigns the WWE title. He hits Lesnar with the title, which gave Bobby Lashley the chance to strike and cover Brock Lesnar and become a 2-time WWE champion. So the way it ended, it was good and all, but I think that match had the potential to be a historic match. It had potential because this was a match that was 20 years in the making, because both Lashley and Lesnar had similar roads, if you will, to WWE. Obviously both are former amateur wrestling champions. Both have won championships in MMA. Excuse me. And both came back to WWE to become champion, and that's what they both did. But we never thought that this match would have ever come to pass. This was like a big dream match, and Roman Reigns ruined it. I think had Roman Reigns not have ruined the match, I think honestly this could have been at the number 5 slot in the top 10. That's just how I see it. But coming in at number 2 is AJ Styles versus Finn Balor at Survivor Series 2022, just last month. The reason why I have this in the honorable mentions was because of the fact that there was a lot of outside interference, and people seem to forget that Finn Balor actually owns a one-on-one victory over AJ Styles. People forget that back when both of these men were baby faces, Balor was on Raw, Styles was on SmackDown. Yeah, and you guys are wondering, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So I believe this was 2017, if I remember right. So originally it was supposed to have been the Demon versus Bray Wyatt, and unfortunately Bray Wyatt was not himself. He got sick, so Kurt Angle, the GM of Raw at that time, told Shane McMahon, the commissioner of SmackDown at that point, saying, "Hey, we need one of your best guys to show up to our show. Who you got?" Shane was like, "You know what? How about Styles? The perfect dream match." and it did not disappoint. This one kind of did. I feel like this one, in my opinion, kind of did disappoint, not just because of the outside interference, but because of the fact that the match itself was just a bit soft. It didn't have that it factor, if you will, in my opinion. That's just how I see it. Of course, too, if you guys think I'm wrong, yeah, you guys can always post in the comments below. But speaking of Finn Balor, we move on to the number 1 spot in the honorable mentions, which is Finn Balor versus Edge I Quit match at Extreme Rules. This one was just too hard to not watch. This was just so heartbreaking because of the fact that Edge would not say I quit. That was until they threatened to hit Beth Phoenix, his wife, with a concerto, and I can guarantee you, Edge will be coming back, and when he does, he's going to destroy Finn Balor. Who knows? Maybe it could be at the Royal Rumble. Who the hell knows? But now we move on into the top 10 list, and kicking these off at number 10, it is Roman Reigns versus Matt Riddle on SmackDown, June 17th, 2022. This was actually a really good matchup. This was absolutely incredible. This was one of those matches where this was basically a prove yourself for Roman Reigns. This was a match that Roman needed that Roman needed to prove to the entire world that he can win a match on his own. This one was no different, because this one had so many twists and turns, so many near falls. Matt Riddle came this close from winning that match, but it just was not meant to be. Roman Reigns picking up the victory that night in Minneapolis, which we saw the return of Brock Lesnar. So this one was a pretty good one in my honest opinion. Coming in at number 9 is one that you would least expect. Dolph Ziggler versus Braun Breaker for the NXT title at NXT Stand and Deliver 2022. This one was basically the clear case of the young lion trying to outmaneuver the veteran lion. Braun Breaker came close, but it was not meant to be. Dolph Ziggler just had the wherewithal to remain NXT champion for only 2 more days, because obviously Braun Breaker regained the title 2 nights later on the Raw after WrestleMania, which was incredible. But this one was just even better because of the fact that Dolph Ziggler had never competed on a big stage on a big NXT stage like Stand and Deliver, and this one was basically the ultimate prove yourself for Dolph Ziggler, because especially throughout this whole year, we had not seen Dolph compete all that often, and even if we do see him, and even whenever even like whenever we did watch Dolph compete, it was always gonna be that there was always that one big X factor that made all the difference, and this one was just the big X factor for this one was mainly just that, the clear case of the veteran lion going up against the young lion, and this one I believe definitely deserves the number 9 spot, but the number 8 spot might just surprise you. The Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes inside of War Games at Survivor Series. Yeah, this one, in my opinion, I think was a bit of a blowout. Just because of the fact that while it is true that yes, the Brawling Brutes did gain the War Games advantage, that didn't matter. That didn't matter. You know, it's just because, you know, it's the old adage. Just because you won the advantage for War Games does not mean you're gonna win War Games, and we have seen that every single time, whether it was on NXT, whether it was on the main roster, it didn't matter. We always saw the opposing team pick up the victory, and this one was no different because the Brawling Brutes obviously contained Sheamus, Rich Holland, Butch, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens. Butch and Owens were the only two who had been in War Games before, and so they know the dangers of War Games. They know how dangerous the match is. And War Games, we all know how insanely crazy that match is. How crazy it can get once War Games officially starts, you know? And this one basically was a prove yourself for Sami Zayn, because it was a matter of what does Sami do? You know, it's like on one hand he's got it's like on one hand you want to prove yourself to Jey Uso, prove yourself to Roman Reigns, prove yourself to the entire bloodline that you are loyal to them, that you can be a full-blown noose. But on the other hand, it's like I'm in the same ring with my best friend. Why do I have to fight him? That's the thing about that and that was the thing. Roman Reigns needed to see if Sami Zayn could become a full-blown noose, and this match basically proved it. It proved that Sami Zayn is indeed a full-blown noose, and even I have to admit, this was probably one of the most insane War Games matches I had ever seen in quite a while, because I've had the honor of watching almost every single War Games match except for one, and that was the first one. I think, what was it, 2017, if I remember correctly. I could be. I think it is 2017. Of course, too, I know WWE isn't probably going to post it on their YouTube page, but hey, you know what? It's all good. It's all good. But I can still watch it on Peacock. So, but still, that's why I decided to put this match at number 8, just because of the fact that while it is true that the ending was pretty strong, it did have its drawbacks, and one of the biggest drawbacks was the fact that we could have seen, instead of Kevin Owens getting pinned, for all we know, in my opinion, I feel like Drew McIntyre should have been the one to get pinned instead of Kevin Owens, but that's just me. But still, that's just me. But coming in at number 7 is I'm is a match that many people would consider to have been a Slammy Award-winning match of the year. And that is the Ring General Gunther versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title at Clash at the Castle. This was basically the clearest case of what pure European wrestling was about. Like, there was nothing that was wrong with this matchup. Not one thing was wrong. This was basically everything that we had expected. Excuse me. Oh my god. Sorry guys, something's caught in my throat again. There we go. Anyway, this was a clear case of what European wrestling was about. There was nothing wrong with this match. This was basically everything that we were expecting, because whenever you put two big men like Sheamus and Gonta in the same ring, it's as Big E would always say, big meaty men slapping meat. Bad joke, I know. Bad joke, but even you guys have to admit it's still funny to this day. This one, I'm gonna be honest, obviously the whole world wanted Sheamus to win, but it just was not meant to be. It really wasn't. It just wasn't meant to be for Sheamus. But I know that at some point, Sheamus will become Intercontinental Champion. I have no doubt about that in my mind. I've got no doubt that he will be champion. And when he does become champion, he'll have won every single title under the sun, except for the Universal title. I don't know if he's gonna get a chance. Excuse me, to win that title before he gets into the Hall of Fame, but only time will tell. But this one, there was nothing wrong with this match. This could have been in the top 3, but I decided to put this at number 7 just because of the fact that just because of the fact that the biggest downside of this match was the fact that the bell hadn't start, and both members of Imperium and the Brawling Brutes, which obviously were Giovanni Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser, Butch and Rich Holland, were just beating the hell out of each other. And Sheamus and Gunther were just staring at each other, doing nothing. Just nothing. And that's what I found extremely funny about. That was probably the most hilarious moment I ever seen, but the match was just so fucking good. And again, Sheamus could have won, but it just wasn't meant to be. Coming in at number 6 is the last match you would least expect. It is Ilya Dragunov versus Nathan Frazer for the NXT United Kingdom title on an episode of NXT UK, March 3rd, 2022. This was basically the clear case of what high flying wrestling was about. This was an instant classic. I had never seen anything like it. It was just absolutely incredible. There's not much to say about it except the fact that Dragunov had arguably one of the most incredible runs as champion in NXT UK history. Don't get me wrong, Gota had an amazing run, and himself. But the problem with his run was the fact that he relied too much on Imperium. It got to a point where his title run just went stale. It went completely stale. So that's why I consider Dragunov's run as champion to be one of the best runs in NXT UK history. And I'm not gonna lie, I do wish that NXT UK would come back, but obviously we will not be getting that because of the fact that we will be getting NXT Europe sometime in the next several months, from what I've been hearing. I don't know exactly if or when we're gonna get it, and we don't know if it's gonna stream on Peacock like they did with NXT UK. But I'm sure WWE will make the announcement sometime in the coming months. Who knows? But this one, there's really no reason for it. It's just the fact that it was an instant classic, in my honest opinion. Now we are at the halfway mark. So coming in at number 5 is none other there we go, is none other than Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania 38. I believe this was on night 1. If I remember right, I believe it was on night 1. Yeah. Yep, night 1 of WrestleMania, and I'm gonna be honest, this was basically everything that we had expected. And this rivalry started at SummerSlam in 2021 last year, where we saw Becky Lynch return to WWE after taking literally over a year off from her pregnancy. From her pregnancy, you know, having to take care of her daughter Rue. She came back stronger than ever, better than ever, more dangerous than we had ever seen before, and defeats Bianca Belair in 26 seconds for the SmackDown Women's title. And then she ended up regaining the Raw Women's title, thus continuing her run as Women's Champion. And this obviously led to Bianca Belair becoming the Raw Women's Champion at WrestleMania. But what's interesting about all this was the fact that this was the first time ever that Becky Lynch had her own entrance that actually was good. You know, because her first entrance was, I think, WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. No, it was just bland. WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, excuse me, was pretty bland. Actually, all of her entrances were pretty bland. But this one coming out of the Cadillac, the Cadillac Escalade, I think it is, was just incredible, and having the STU what was it, the band team play Bianca's music. It was just incredible. And this was actually one of the only times where Becky Lynch had to prove herself. She needed to know if she can do it again. Could she defeat Bianca Belair again? Not this time. Bianca Belair brought out the best in Becky Lynch in this matchup, in my honest opinion. It was just that damn good. But coming in at number 4 is Carmelo Hayes versus Ricochet for the NXT North American title and NXT Worlds Collide. This was actually the last, as I had mentioned in that prediction video and in the result video, which if you guys have not checked out those videos, I recommend you guys check them out. Watch the prediction video and then watch the result video. What you guys will hear from me just might surprise you, but this one was basically a match of high flying skills. Who was the better high flyer? Who was the better North American champion? Because people forget Ricochet was the second ever NXT North American champion, because he defeated Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver. What was it? What was it? TakeOver Orlando? I want to see about that. I think it was. Let's see. Adam Cole versus Ricochet. NXT TakeOver. Let's see. It was TakeOver Brooklyn. That's right. I do remember that very fondly. Ricochet versus Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4. I do remember that. I think Did they really post it on YouTube? Let me check my phone. Let's see. I think they did. They did release that. Oh my god. I did not know that. I didn't realize it. Let's see. Adam Cole versus Ricochet. Takeover Brooklyn 4. Yep, they did. They did release it. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy. It's crazy because that was the match that that was basically the coming out match, if you will, for Ricochet, because he needed to see if he could hang with the Hall of NXT champions, and that match was that match basically proved it. But again, this matchup, Hayes and Ricochet, was a match to see if Ricochet could become NXT champion one more time. But it was also this was also the way, to for Carmelo Hayes to prove if he can truly hang with some of the biggest guns on the main roster, such as a Ricochet, or such as a Cody Rhodes, or a Seth Rollins, or a Sami Zayn, or a Roman Reigns, or whatever. And this matchup proved that this was incredible. Despite Trick Williams getting involved, I think this proved that Carmelo Hayes can hang with some of the biggest guns on the main roster. And I've got no doubt in my mind that that Carmelo Hayes will be on the main roster in 2023. And when he does, I can guarantee you, he's going to dominate the main roster with an iron fist. Whether he becomes U.S. champion, IC champion, it doesn't matter. He will do it. I've got no doubt about that in my mind. And this one was just pretty incredible. But if you guys want incredible, the final three, and what you guys are about to see from these three, just might surprise you. Because coming in at number 3, it is Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul at Crown Jewel. This one was basically the biggest case of Logan Paul proving himself, proving to not just to himself, not just proving himself to the entire world, but proving himself to Roman Reigns that he does have what it takes to be a champion. And Roman Reigns was shocked. Despite how the match ended, Roman Reigns was shocked to see that Logan Paul had so much promise in his third match. Think about that. Third fucking match. And that was basically it. That was basically the match. That right there, in my opinion, should have been match of the year. This one could have been at the number 1 spot, but I had chose something even different. I chose something different entirely, and you guys will be surprised by what the number 1 spot will be. But this one, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw Logan Paul do all those old school wrestling moves, all those drop toe holds, arm drags, hip toss, all that, I was in shock. I was just like, holy shit, like, what the fuck are we seeing? Even Paul Heyman's expressions were just priceless. Like, you cannot make any of that shit up. And despite how it all ended, with the Usos attacking Logan Paul's impulsive podcast co-hosts, despite despite Jake Paul, Logan's brother Jake showing up, to hit the Usos with that one shot, despite Solo Sikoa getting involved, despite all that, this was the best pure wrestling match we had seen from Roman Reigns in quite some time, and I think Roman Reigns, it has definitely given Logan Paul the respect that he deserves, because when he showed up to WWE during WrestleMania season last year in 2021, Logan Paul got zero respect. But once he started to get into the wrestling ring, and started to compete on the big stages like WrestleMania, like SummerSlam, the whole world started to realize, hey, this dude's actually pretty fucking good. This one was no different, because I truly believe now that at some point down the road, whether it's in 2023 or whether it's a few years from now, I've got no doubt in my mind that Logan Paul is going to be a major star in WWE. Actually, let me rephrase that. He's going to be an even bigger star in WWE than he already is now. That's just how I see it. But coming in at number 2 is a match between the Usos and the Street Profits for the undisputed tag team titles at Money in the Bank. This one, despite how it ended, this was basically the purest form of tag team wrestling. There's not much else to say about it, except the fact that despite how it ended with Montez Ford's shoulder being lifted, being up off the mat, this one was tag team wrestling at its finest. It was just two teams. Excuse me. The Street Profits, the Usos, tag team titles on the line. The tag team titles on the line. Nobody at ringside, and the referee in the ring to call to count the pin, count the submission, and ring the bell from bell to bell. That's how it was, and this one proved it. This one was basically the biggest match in tag team wrestling history, in my honest opinion, because this match proved that the Street Profits do have what it takes to defeat the Usos, but it just was not enough. It just wasn't enough for the Street Profits to win, despite all the controversy that from that match. I think honestly the Street Profits, they've got what it takes to be tag team champions again. But coming in at number 1, you guys may think it's gonna be a match featuring Roman Reigns or something like that. No. It is something else entirely. It is Seth freaking Rollins versus the return of the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, at WrestleMania 38. I believe night 1 or night 2. I think it was night 1. Yeah, night 1 of WrestleMania. You guys are probably asking yourselves, why? Why is this match at the number 1 spot? Come on! This was the purest form of pure wrestling you could ever think of. And not only that, this is Cody fucking Rhodes we're talking about here. This is Seth freaking Rollins we're talking about here. Two men who are just pure wrestlers. You can't go wrong with that. Honestly, in my opinion, I would have chosen their third encounter inside Hell in a Cell, but I chose their first encounter simply because of the fact that this was Cody's first match back in WWE in 6 years. His last match in WWE, shockingly enough, was actually at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, Texas, inside that exact same stadium, AT&T Stadium. Six years later, did not miss a beat. This one was just wrestling at its finest, and I've got no doubt in my mind. Despite the injury that he sustained, I think when he comes back, I think we are gonna see one last encounter between these two, and I think that will definitely end the rivalry of Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. And this matchup, it was just too good. It was too good, too hard to predict who would win. And plus, when I did my prediction video for WrestleMania, I actually, in the back of my mind, I was actually, truth be told, under the impression that Cody Rhodes could have been the guy to face off against Rollins. But then again, it could have been literally anybody. For all we know, it could have been that one guy from AAA. What was it? Dragon Lee. I think his name was. Oh, by the way, breaking news, guys. Breaking news. If you guys had not checked out the official NXT Instagram page, we found out that Dragon Lee, who is now the AAA Tag Team Champion, big congrats to him and his tag team partner. He will now be signed to NXT to kick off 2023. Shoutouts to him. Welcome to WWE. Can't wait to see what he brings to the table. But with that said, again, for all we know, it could have been him. It could have been Sin Cara. Hell, for all we know, it could have been It could have been Zack Ryder, for all we know, or Matt Cardona. It could have been anybody, but it ended up being Cody Rhodes. So this one was arguably one of the best matches of the whole card itself at WrestleMania. But this brings me to the question of the day, which is this. What was your favorite WWE match of 2022? And I'm also very curious as to what you guys think about this list. What match should have been on this top 10 list? What match should have been in the honorable mentions list? Let me know down in the comments below. And that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more top 10 videos in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.